You're listening to a 4AK podcast. Here's what you missed on the BRE Show with Damo.
And you're waking up with Damo here on 4AK. Nice to have your company on this Friday. I always enjoy my time every fortnight of catching up with Senator Pauline Hanson because we always have such a spirited conversation, and she joins me on the line. How are you, Pauline?
Hi, Damo. Good.
It is good.
Pretty good, thanks.
Yeah, great to talk to you. And, of course, one of the big things on the thoughts of many people, especially after the NATO summit, is, of course, the spend that America wants us to have on our Defence Force.
And I don't blame them whatsoever. They're an ally of us. They always come to the aid of Australia and a lot of countries around the world. And the taxpayers of America are paid for the defence of other countries. And so Trump is saying, no, start pulling your own weight, and which we should.
Yes.
And we've allowed ours to slip so much. We're about third down the bottom. I think Japan is lower than us. And then you've got the UK have picked up their spending. They're going to spend more, other countries are. But Albanese has this attitude, we'll do what we want to do. Well, will the United States take that attitude if we need their assistance to stop any invasion happening in Australia?
And, of course, it also puts this AUKUS agreement on dangerous slide as well.
Look, I think he'd be thinking twice about that, but he hasn't said they're not going to go ahead with it. But I think it's pathetic, very weak of our Prime Minister. Really, yes, he is the leader of this nation, but I think if he's going to go ahead down this path and put our national security at risk, I think that's weak leadership. I think it's very poor decision-making. He's spending a lot of money in other areas. Government spending is just over the top. We've wasted so much money, and they're still wasting so much money. Do you know, in the term of this government, they've put on 107,000 public servants.
Wow.
More public servants.
Yeah.
So they have increased that. The spending in the NDIS is reaching around about $50 billion. That continues to rise. They're not prepared to rein that in. The Aboriginal spending is just over the top as well. So about $30 billion a year that goes there, and treating people totally different. So I think the money is there if they want to, shuffle the deck chairs again, and it can be done. But he has this attitude, listen, mate, China's our friend. China won't do anything about it. I'm their handsome boy. They're not going to do anything to offend us.
And as one of the presses quoted, we've got champagne taste with cordial income. Really, our ageing defence infrastructure is showing just how vulnerable we are now.
It is. Look, we can't afford to get ships built. We're in terrible position with missiles, any military equipment. And you've got to think that when the Australian personnel join up for defence, they want to know that they have the right equipment there if they have to put their lives on the line. And if we haven't got it, why would they bother?
Yeah.
That's another thing that you've got to think about. Anyway, it's just something that I'm sure the opposition will be pushing for, I'll be pushing for, and we'll be putting out a defence policy soon too.
Yeah, and as you know, we are building some infrastructure like the Boxer reconnaissance vehicles, but that's for export back overseas.
Yes, we don't use enough here, the frigates, the ships, what we have, the armoured trucks and all that. I've done 5 Defence Force parliamentary programs with them,
Yep.
And it's quite interesting to watch and see what it's all about. So I do have a little bit of knowledge about it, right from the submarines to the army to the border force, all these things that I've watched and seen what takes place. And I've seen the military equipment that we've had. I take my hat off to the men and women who actually are putting their lives on the line.
Yeah.
And we don't have a Prime Minister who respects that.
I don't know if you heard the comments from Bob Katter, but he wants to build a wall of missiles and rockets and put guns in schools so that children aged 14 and over can become a 5 million strong guerrilla warfare unit.
I like Bob Katter. He's been in politics a long time, but his comments are absolutely over the top. It's stupid. Years ago, Damo, it was a different type of youth that we had in the country prior to the Second World War. The kids then were of a different make. The kids of today wouldn't even consider it.
Yes.
I don't think they're of the same calibre. Can you imagine putting the guns in schoolrooms? These days, if you have a gun in your own house, what you have to go through, you have to have it in a locked-up cabinet. The procedure you have to go through. And if you think you're going to have all these guns in schools around the country locked up, you'd have the gangs and crims breaking in to take the guns. I just think it's such a stupid, outlandish statement from Bob Katter.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything, start up cadets. I think the cadets was a great program for the kids to actually get into cadets at the educational level by all means and give them some knowledge and understanding of what may be required of them. From the cadets, let them go on to join the military forces.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, but as you rightfully said, kids these days are a different breed, and you wouldn't get the feeling of nationalistic pride and young people joining up like you did, in 30 or 40 years ago.
They'd rather get in front of a video game playing a joystick rather than worry about
Exactly.
They're more likely to do that.
Listen, before we go, the New South Wales Teachers Federation Union has called for gender-neutral greetings in our classrooms, no longer saying boys and girls welcome. They're suggesting that we use terms like, hello, you epic and awesome humans.
They're a bunch of friggin' idiots out there. They really are. Geez, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm so over it. These rat bags are out there teaching our kids in the classroom, spreading this absolute crap. I'm sorry, you probably picked it up. I'm angry about this.
Yep.
And people have to start waking up to themselves and say, this is going too far. We're not going to do it. And don't allow your kids to go along with this rubbish. And it's absolutely rubbish. There is two sexes. You're born with it. Biological sex is male and female. That's it, the two sexes. And that's what the majority of people in the world are. And if you head down the path, you've got rocks in your head and there's something wrong with it, and I'd suggest go and see a psychiatrist if you go along with this rubbish.
But how do we stop it? I mean, has it gone to the point where it's very difficult for us to pull this wokeness back? I
don't believe it is. The parents have the final say over the kids. And there are some kids that through the home stand up and you speak out in class and say, no, I'm not going to do it. And the more parents that tell the kids, don't put up this rubbish. I told my grandson, he said, oh, Grandma, we have to put our hands on the ground and do welcome to country. I said, no, you don't. He said, but we do it. Everyone does. I said, you do not have to. And I said, you stand up and say, I'm not doing that. And so he did. And so he stopped doing it. So until we actually, override this rubbish, they'll keep filling our kids with this nonsense. And so parents have to start taking control of it. And it is over the top.
It certainly is, and it's a bit of grandstanding, I think, from the New South Wales Teachers Union, just wanting to get their, name back in the paper, I think.
It is happening, and of course people are sending out letters from even parliamentary offices and businesses, and they don't refer to she or he. It's theirs or them and that type of thing that we're heading down the path. Isn't it funny, Damo? They'll fight for women's rights as far as standing as candidates in elections. Okay, you've got to have a quota for women.
Yes.
Then they'll fight for women to have equal pay. So, they'll fight for women's rights. They'll fight for women's rights when it comes to domestic violence, where they'll treat women totally different. But why don't we define then what is a man and woman?
Yes.
So they pick and choose what suits them.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and I'm going to end by using the empowering term set down by the union, saying that, Pauline, you're an expert, an intellectual, a future leader, a change maker, and you're a superstar.
Damo, you've made my day. Thank you.
Always great to catch up with you. You have an awesome fortnight, and we'll catch up soon.
All right. Thanks, Damo. Bye.